everyone. Today we have Isla Britton. Isla, thank you for joining us today. Isla is 18 years old and she's an elite triathlete. She's a three-time consecutive British champion. She's won many international events, and she's also a multiple national Scottish champion for triathlon. Isla, so I thought what we'd do today is just talk a little bit about your background in triathlon and how you got started, and a little bit about racing, how you've been coping with lockdown, and what's motivated you to continue to train. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in triathlon.
How I got started in triathlon was I actually started racing aquathons when I was 7, but I've been running since I was 4 years old. Both my parents were marathon runners, so I always wanted to be like them. So when I was 4, I annoyed them. It's like, can I go out running? So they would let me run 200 meters and then walk 200 meters. When we moved to Scotland, we did a lot of hill climbing. And then when I was 7, I found triathlon. My first triathlon didn't go so well. I fell off my bike, finished almost last, but I still loved it and I continued to race. Here I am 10 years later.
And could you maybe give us a few, or maybe even one thing that really got you hooked to triathlon?
I like the variety that the training's really different. You don't have to do the same thing every day. You have 3 sports and strength and conditioning. Also, the racing's quite physical, but it's also very mental. You have to understand tactics and you need to be very mentally smart to race triathlon as well. So that was really appealing to me.
See a lot of girls come and go in the sport, and yet you've been in it pretty much consistently. What do you think that your secret is to that?
Having a fundamental love for exercise and just wanting to do it, not feeling like I have to. Some days I'm tired and I don't feel like training, but I still do it because I still love it. And I just really think it's about enjoying it. It's not all about pressure and the future, especially at a younger age. It's just about going out and enjoying exercise, and especially enjoying the feeling after, feeling like you've accomplished something and you're doing something good and good for your body.
Talking about just the enjoyment of doing it. Is that different though when you come into race day? You're racing against people your own age and you pretty much know them. How were you able to cope with that at such a young age?
Well, I think it's having solid friendships in training. You establish them, you go through hard work together, so that kind of bonds you. But when it comes to race day, then you're at the advantage where with your peers, you know their strengths and you know their weaknesses, so you can help each other along. But it's also about being there for yourself. For me, go into a different mental zone on race day where I know everything that is going to possibly happen, and I think of different scenarios. So I think it's just all about having the right mental attitude going into racing, and it's not about the other people, it's about you and how you can possibly use the other people that you know. But at the end of the day, however you do in the race against each other, you're still going to be friends afterwards. Like, you've trained a lot together, and you're friends afterwards. It doesn't mean you need to be friends while you're racing. It's no hard feelings, really. I find that in triathlon, people don't hold grudges and stuff. It's a nice community like that.
But do you feel that your attitude has changed over the years? How you cope with the wins as well as the losses?
When I was younger, it was hard to see past the race because it was all like every little race was always important to me. So if I didn't feel like I didn't as well as I thought I should have, it's not about winning. For me, it's about feeling that I raced to my full potential. When I felt like that didn't happen, I would get quite upset and it would be hard to move past. But now, especially in the last 3 years, it's okay, you can be angry about not doing well in races, but you need to like have resilience and move past it. So basically after 24 hours after a bad race, I don't really think about it anymore. It's all about the next thing, and you always learn something, especially from bad races. That's where you learn what you can do better.
Now, you know that you're a junior, you race more internationally. How how are you finding that, and how is the adaptation in terms of just racing nationally to taking that bigger jump up to being a junior?
Well, racing nationally it was quite comfortable to begin with. Obviously, you have the initial step into racing from regionals to nationals, and you find it a big step. You see the caliber of racing is a lot bigger, but there's a much bigger jump between national and international races, because in the international races I do, like, a lot of the girls were a lot older than I was, so it was hard in that aspect that people were bigger and people had been training for longer, and obviously the caliber was exceptional. Um, and then obviously internationally, the long race, like their longer races, they're up at the sprint distance. So it was an hour of all out racing rather than half an hour that it was at nationals. But I really enjoyed I'm really enjoyed the challenge of international racing. It was a big step, but it's amazing, just the environment, just being in the pack with people who are so fast and being able to contend on the run. It's amazing.
What I would love to do is to get a little bit of an understanding of your training. How has your training changed over the years?
Well, it's definitely evolved. I've always been a low volume athlete. I've never done many hours. And now that I'm 18 and fully grown, I've progressed my hours on. But back when I was 9, I was not training more than 6 hours a week, possibly 4 sessions, two of them being quite long. Once I got to the age of 12, where I was racing IRC, progressed to maybe 8 or 9 hours a week, still really low volume, quite a lot of swimming because of the low impact that swimming has on your body. 2 runs and 2 bikes possibly. Once I was 15, 16, 10 to 12 hours a week, and now I'm working towards between 14 and 18 hours a week of training. That's during lockdown. I have a lot of spare time.
Why don't we get a little bit now into lockdown and how you know how your training has been going over the last year. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about your mindset, being able to cope with your training, and has it changed during lockdown?
When lockdown first started, I just finished a training camp in France. So I was a bit disappointed. I had done quite a big couple of weeks of training ready for race season, and we didn't get that. So it was a bit demoralizing at the start, not seeing any goals to race towards. But I continued to change between group training and having to do all my training alone was quite difficult. You definitely miss your group. You miss like having a coach there watching you. But after a month, I feel like I adapted quite well. Got quite comfortable with training by myself. I'm pushing all my numbers on the bike and paces on the run. I feel like I'm in the best shape I have been in. So I've definitely done something right over the past year, or at least the past few months. Now you can see the light at the end of this pandemic. I see that racing opportunities are going to come in the future. It's just very motivating. Also, what motivated me was you have this time to work on things that were your weaknesses. You have lots of time to build a solid base. You don't need to rush it because races are coming. So it's about being patient and just, really cementing the love for training.
Talking a little bit about your weaknesses, what would you say your weakness is?
Fortunately, my weakness was swimming, and something that we've not been able to do much of, but I've been working a lot on my strength, my upper body strength, so hopefully that's going to transfer when I am able to get back in the pool. Also, I would say one of my weaknesses was that I had quite a bit of speed and I was able to do the short races, but having like a aerobic pace was quite difficult. So I've been working on that, doing longer, slower stuff, which I didn't enjoy, but now I'm starting to really enjoy doing long, more aerobic stuff. But at the start, it was a bit of a challenge to go from I always wanted to go hard, and it's not always about going hard in every session.
In terms of your schoolwork, and how are you able to balance schoolwork, your training load?
I'm a person who likes a routine. I enjoy doing my training after I eat breakfast in the morning. I don't enjoy getting up too crazy early. So if I get up at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, I'll start training by 9:30 or 10, which means even if I have a double session in the day, I'm done before 1 o'clock, then I can dedicate some hours to schoolwork. I can get a good 2, 3 hours of schoolwork in a day. I only have 2 advanced tires this year, so it's more than enough time to do the work and consolidate it. I have quite a lot of free time. It's not all about like having every minute of the day timetable, but I have these rough sections of my day, like this is for training, this is for working, and this is for doing whatever I feel like.
So you're saying now you're doing like 15 hours a week, but that's not including swimming.
Some of the swimming hours are replaced by strength and conditioning. So doing about 3 hours of strength and conditioning a week as well as about 2 hours of mobility and just general stretching. So 5 hours a week is dedicated to not running or biking.
Went out and asked the community if they had any specific questions for you, as well as just general questions. A lot of people had asked about the volume of training and how much training do you do in a week, and basically all the questions I've asked you. But one of them was it was about mental strength. Do you do any mental strengthening in order to be able to do the training and to stay focused like you do?
Through like some adversity I've faced in my life, I'm a very mentally strong person because of that and having difficulties to go through. But other than that, I do quite a lot of visualization. Every morning when I'm waking up, I always think about the training that's coming ahead and I think through the session because I know what the session's going to be and I think how I'm going to deliver that session. So I'd say that gives me quite a lot of mental strength. I feel quite prepared before I even start the session. I think it's also about reflecting after each day what you could have done better. So this morning I did a bike session and I think I did a really good job at this bike session, but there's always some things that I could have done better to perfectly nail that session, whether that's more watts in the easy recovery section or hitting the right cadence. It's all about knowing that you can be better, but also reflecting on what you've done well. So, for example, at the end of today, I'll say, I did a really good job at that bike session as well. It's also not being hard on yourself, it's giving yourself the respect of that, oh, I did a good job there, but this could also be better. It's about the balance of that.
We're just probably going to end here just with one question looking at the future. What are your aspirations for the long-term future?
For racing this year, I just hope to be able to race at an international level, whether that's here in Europe or in Canada. I don't know yet based on travel restrictions, but my main priority is to race at a high level. In the future, again, it's just racing at a high level if possible. I would love to go to the Olympics and Commonwealth Games, as well as race World Triathlon Series. And outside of triathlon, I would like to be a sports medicine doctor one day. However, I feel like doing medicine right now and balancing triathlon would be quite difficult. So I hope to pick that up later in life.
Fabulous. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I don't want to make it too long for people, but I hope that gives them a little bit of insight into how you've coped with the restrictions and a little bit about yourself. And well, thank you so much, Isla. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for
And
having me.
hopefully we can do another one in the future at some point.
Thank you.
Thank you.